All right, welcome everybody. I'm just leaving a little bit of time for everybody to get connected. I see that people are joining us now. Great, thank you for joining us. Just going to wait a couple more, maybe 30 more seconds. Sometimes it takes a little time for people to get connected, so. Okay. Great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody. Really happy to have you with us today. My name is April and I'm head of marketing at Stratix. Today we will be talking about negotiation in action with Aidan McGloin, who is facilitation professor, or sorry, negotiation facilitator at KEDGE Business School. And we also have Juliet Frank, who is our corporate learning lead at Stratix. So today's session is going to be really talking about how to use negotiation in action and how to really learn how to negotiate by using experiential learning. So I'll let maybe Aidan just very briefly introduce himself and maybe Julia as well.
Okay, welcome everybody. As April said, I'm a lecturer in negotiation strategies in KEDGE Business School. I'm based in Bordeaux, but occasionally I teach in our campuses in Paris, Marseille, and Toulon. I've been using actually the Remenex simulator with my students in Bordeaux since 2021 or 22. And I've also been collaborating with Stratex for 4 years now at this stage, working with them on their Remenex project.
Great, thank you. And Julia, if you want to just quickly introduce yourself too.
Hi everyone. So I'm Juliette, part of Stratix for a few sometimes now, and I'm a corporate sales manager, as April told earlier, and we'll work through this session. So it's really nice to discuss with you. Thank you again for taking some time with us today to discuss this session. Maybe I can start with you. The idea first it would be to start to explain to you why we're doing this webinar, because so I would like to ask you something simple, like when was the last time that you negotiated something? Because probably it was today, like maybe even this morning with your children, like negotiating to put the shoes on or something like that. But the thing is, we really wanted to say that negotiation is everywhere, and it's not only for sales teams. And because negotiation is not only for sales team and happens everywhere, when we're talking about professional lives, it can also happen to managers that negotiate priorities, or HR negotiating offers and expectations, and also leaders aligning the stakeholders. And the reality is that negotiation is part of our everyday life. It's not only sales. But the real question is would be maybe like how many people are actually trained to do it well? Because yeah, sometimes it can it can be a bit complicated, or have some bad ideas. So April, I think you're going to launch a little survey on this one. We would like to know
Yes.
a bit more about you guys.
We'd just like to know what your job role is. And please just answer the first question for the time being. And also, if you want to let us know where you're connecting from in the chat, that would be great. Because I know when I was looking at everyone who registered, it looks like there are people who have registered from Europe, from North America. So yeah, it'd be great to know where you're connecting from as well. I'm just
Great,
gonna
I see
leave. Yeah.
everyone is trying.
Hmm.
Okay,
Right.
so how
Someone
many?
said no multiple choice. Fair enough. If you have more than one role, then please let us know in the chat. Thank you. All right.
And we'll have all
Great.
the three questions that came up, because yeah,
Yeah, sorry
also
about that.
another question we had, more of the roles that would be like, what would you get from this webinar? Because that's really important for us to really understand, like, what is the purpose of this? Like, is it because it's part of your strategy 2026? Is it because like this is something very
Mhm.
personal, like your skills you want to develop? It's really important for us to know all of that.
That's great.
And yeah,
Yes,
practical too.
wonderful.
So there's lots of
Okay.
L&D and talent development, right?
Yeah, and we also have some people HR,
Yeah,
25% from just managers or team leaders, and then we also have about almost 20% joining us who are like sales and business development.
business
So, and then we
development.
have a few trainers, coaches, and consultants. That is great. Okay, great. I'm just gonna end the poll for now. I might relaunch it when we go to
Yeah,
the other questions. So, yes, I'm gonna go ahead and share the survey right now so you can
yeah.
see. And then,
What you'll be happy
right.
to get from this webinar is also like practice tool we can use, like, and how the ideas to train your team. So that's great because that's definitely also something we'll discuss today.
Mm,
Cool. Okay, thank you so much for answering these.
yeah.
Let me just start very briefly to introduce to give a little bit of context about us, Stratex. So at Stratex, we've been designing like learning programs for over 40 years, originally based on a research from INSEAD Institute in Fontainebleau. But more importantly, we focus on one thing, the learning by doing. So basically, you use a simulation to practice something that you learned. And because we believe that for topics like leadership, strategy, or negotiation for today, understanding is not enough. It's important to practice. So that's a little bit who we are. And yeah, we're also working for many years in the academic sectors. Also, sometimes we have some teachers that are joining us. And yeah, so we're working with like 75% of the top global business school over the world. And that's also the other question we wanted to ask you, like, what is your biggest negotiation fear?
Hmm.
And so we've launched the study already.
Yeah, I'm gonna relaunch it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and yeah, that's the third question. If you could go ahead and answer it, because from a lot of the professionals that we've spoken with, and this is something maybe Aidan is going to talk about, it's not just salespeople who have to negotiate, it's really people from many different profiles. And sometimes negotiation can be kind of a scary thing if you don't know how to do it. So it's kind of interesting to find out really what are the things that you find the most challenging, or what do you fear the most when you negotiate? So, and if you have any
Mhm.
other answers, please let us know in the chat.
Yeah, not knowing when to push versus concede.
Yeah.
Great. That's something we see a lot in
Yes,
the program.
Camilla is saying it's quite difficult to pick just one. Yeah, I agree.
Like the most important one then.
Yeah, depending on the circumstances, exactly. I agree. Okay, great. So yeah, it looks like okay, I'll maybe give like 20 more seconds for the poll, but it looks like most people are saying not
Mhm.
knowing when to push versus conceding. And then a lot of people are also saying freezing in the moment.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and share those results.
We also have some people talking about handling through our aggressive counter type.
Yes, that's definitely something that
Yeah.
that can be very challenging as well. So that's
Mhm.
great. Okay. And yeah, I mean, if you can think of any other fears that you have when you're negotiating in the chat, please let us know.
Or not like even a fear, but like something that can be
Yeah,
blocking or
exactly. Okay. All right, great. Well, maybe this is a good segue into why
Mhm.
are we doing this webinar? Why did we create the
Yeah.
negotiation in action programs? It's to kind of combat
Yeah.
some of these fears.
Yeah, because this is the reason why we created that program. No, it's not complicated to find content about negotiation, but sometimes it's difficult to practice. And most negotiation training doesn't really impact in long term from what we got from the feedback in some survey we've launched with the L&D that we're talking with. It's because it focuses mostly on the knowledge, instead of the behaviors. And you don't improve negotiation by just reading frameworks, right? Attending presentation. Usually, when you meet, for example, a salesperson, it's years after years they've trained themselves, they buy, but sometimes you can't really train yourself, or you have to be efficient. And so usually you improve by practicing, making mistakes, also, of course, and adjusting in real time. And that's exactly why we designed this program with Aidan. It's so maybe Aidan, you can add something also on this one, but it's because we included that simulation in the program.
Yes, Juliette, I think one of the most important things about the program is the ability the participants have to practice, to make mistakes, but also it's very results driven. They're given the objectives in terms of what they need to achieve to obtain their bonus. And it's, gross contribution, it's market share, and also customer satisfaction. So, they have the opportunity to practice, but also they have clear objectives, and it's highly competitive, which stimulates the group of participants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Maybe we can give a little bit more insight about the program itself, because this program is built around a simple idea, like learning through action, basically. So, most of our programs, and so maybe during the seminar, Aidan will bring some learning material and concept, and he will complete it with the simulation, where the participant can actually practice with few simulations what they've just learned. So in the simulation, the participants are placed in a realistic negotiations where they're taking decisions, they're facing the consequences of their interaction with the customer in the simulation, and they can adapt their strategy in a safe environment always, because that's the main thing of the simulation. You can fail, adjust, and retry without consequences. And that's where the real learning happens usually. So maybe I can also show you what it looks like concretely with the RevManex simulation we're using for this specific negotiation training. So with RevManex, it's one of our simulation. It's not a role play. It's a decision-based simulation where participants are negotiating with in realistic business scenarios. So they're having a discussion, they're having a negotiation with someone, and where they manage the trade-offs and see the financial impact on their decisions. They are having also a bonus if everything goes right, and that's actually changed everything to use the simulation, because suddenly negotiation becomes tangible. The decision have consequences, the learning becomes real, and now, yeah, I would say also one of the question we often get is is it complicated to implement? And so those seminars, negotiation in action, and that's the answer is no, definitely not, because the program is designed to be very easy to deploy. So you can either we can train you and you can deliver the trainings to your teams, or either Aidan can deliver the trainings for you directly in a turnkey event. Also, it's very flexible because as there's a simulation and we're humans and we have technology, we can do it online. We can also do it in person, and it can be from half a day to several days, depends on how deep you want to go in the skill itself in negotiation. And of course, then it's scalable, because we can do it from 10 participants to a large group. And yeah, the idea is that it fits into existing L&D strategies without heavy disruption. So yeah, that's some elements we got from the implementation. Also, we wanted to let you know that we have other in-action seminars, so we also can talk about leadership, value creation, sustainability, strategy, and so on. There's many subjects we can cover with the in-action programs by Stratex. Enough of me, because the main point of this webinar was also to discuss with Aidan. And so for this part, we've prepared some questions we got from the survey. So thanks for the participant who answered the survey. So we have some question we can ask Aidan, and of course then we'll have a Q&A with you as participants. If you have some question you can ask about negotiation, about the program itself. So I just stop sharing the presentation so we can see everyone better. And let's start maybe with the first question. Why, Aidan, why do you think negotiation training often fails to deliver long-term impact?
Thank you, Juliette, for the question. I think, we're kind of creatures of habit, and sometimes it's difficult for us to change our habits. We could be a relatively successful negotiator, or we think we're a successful negotiator, so we don't really see the need to change our approach to negotiations. Sometimes, people forget about some of the cognitive biases that we have, perhaps in terms of confirmation bias or even overconfidence bias or even sunk cost bias. We've invested so much into this negotiation, we have to get an agreement. And because of that, people don't think about, okay, well, maybe we could do this differently. People need to see the reason to change. And that's why with the simulation, we do 6 different steps, 6 different negotiations, and hopefully they've seen the progress, they've seen the mistakes that they've made in the first negotiation, and they try to improve, and then they realize, actually, maybe I should change my approach. So when people see the need to change, then I think the training becomes more successful. And perhaps why some training sessions fail is because they don't demonstrate the need to the participants that they actually, maybe they should change their approach.
And what do people usually underestimate about negotiation on simulation-based learning?
But I think a few things. I think people underestimate that every negotiation should and could be the opportunity to create value. I think also that people underestimate the importance of listening. We tend sometimes to stop listening, or we have very prejudiced listening, where perhaps critical listening is more interesting because we try to understand, we try to make sure what the other person is sharing with us is logical, is rational, it makes sense to us. So I think we could all improve our listening skills, and simulations give us the opportunity to do that. I think as well, we forget that when we negotiate, there's a behavioral, there's a cognitive, and there's also an emotional element to it. And people sometimes forget the emotional or even the behavioral aspect of the negotiation. So they kind of underestimate the importance of that. And lastly, I would say that, preparation is key to any negotiation. And sometimes we prepare our approach, we prepare our limits, and we don't give enough consideration to where the limits of the other party might be, which then makes it a little bit difficult for us to identify where the ZOPA or zone of possible agreement might be.
And why is a simulation more effective than traditional classroom training?
I think that, when it comes to negotiating, we need to practice. We need to learn, we need to make mistakes. We can have a teacher, we can have a presenter with fantastic slides, fantastic, acronyms for different aspects, OPA, BATNA, etc. But until we practice and make mistakes, we're limiting our learning opportunity. I mean, I like to remind participants of the 10, 20, 70 rule, and that 10% of our learning comes from formal reading. We try to read and understand. We look at the book, we read the PowerPoint slides, we even maybe watch the video. 20% of our learning comes from interaction with other people. Maybe we have tacit exchange of information. We talk to our manager, we talk to our mentor, or even after a negotiation, we could talk with our counterpart and say, okay, well, what did you think of that? Uh, but the 70%, which is perhaps the most crucial, is the 70% we learn when we actually do, when we make the mistakes, when we
Mhm.
actually um, realize, okay, actually, that wasn't the best approach. I didn't actually reach a contract. We didn't sign the contract here. Why? And again, one of the advantages or benefits of the RevManX or even the Negotiation in Action program is that the participants have the possibility to practice several times before they begin the 6 consecutive negotiations. So it's
So
really,
they
sorry.
no, no, go ahead. Sorry.
So they can learn, they can make mistakes, they can improve, and even the way the program is designed, that after each negotiation, they get a call from Mark, and they have to identify. They're asked a series of questions, which again is to reinforce their learning in terms of what they've just done in the previous negotiation. So there's like it's a great opportunity to practice, to make mistakes, but also to learn from your mistakes.
So we can gain some experience by having this training.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, we had another question. Like, what do participants typically realize about themselves during the training and dissemination? Um, Maybe on non-sales profiles also, that would be interesting.
Well, what I've observed is that on occasions people realize that they were not as good at managing their emotions as they thought they were. Uh, I noticed recently we ran the program in Germany, and during the practice sessions with Mark
Mm-hmm.
Swat, before we begin the real simulations, you can practice as many times as you like. There was one particular pair of participants, and one of them was really frustrated with the practice sessions. They found it difficult to really understand, and to, they were struggling and they were getting really frustrated. And yet they went on to become the most successful in that particular negotiation. When we got to the end, this pair were the one who had the highest bonus. So that was
Mm-hmm.
one thing. Maybe people realize that maybe I need to focus more on managing my emotions. Another
Mm-hmm.
thing is that when you work in a pair, what's interesting is that you have to explain to your partner why you think this is the best approach. And they have to explain to you, I know, I think we should maybe offer this discount at this price and maybe this promotional allowance, or even the steps in the process. So the participants learn about themselves and their approach to negotiation by having to explain it to their partner, and also they learn from observing their partner, and then say, actually, they have a different approach to me. So there's this, they learn from again working with your partner. I think another thing that people have or participants have discovered is that it's not always easy to identify the zone of possible agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes with RevManX, there's always a landing zone. There's always a possible, as I said, zone of possible agreement. Sometimes it's very wide. Sometimes it's quite narrow. And the challenge for some participants, and they realize afterwards, actually, it's quite difficult to understand the other party's limits, to get them as close to their resistance or reservation point as possible. And maybe the last thing I would add is that the participants actually are very competitive, and they realize that during the simulations, because they're comparing their results with the results of the other participants. And typically between, after maybe the first, second, the third, fourth negotiation, we could put up the results, do a kind of a brief feedback. So everybody gets an idea as to where they're performing in relation to the other participants. So they really are, it's competitive, and people become aware then of their competitive nature. So much so that I observed in one simulation where in round six, so the last negotiation, everybody was waiting to see before making the final deal if the other parties had achieved a contract, because then that would have an impact on them, finishing in the top spot. So these are some of the
Mhm.
things that participants learn during the process.
And so you've seen probably like non-sales roles benefits from the program, and if
Yeah,
yes, maybe in what way? Like how do
well,
you see that?
I I think that, if anybody is involved in negotiating the distribution of resources, if anybody has to share information to create value, they can benefit from this type of program. In the program, one of the aspects of your bonus, one of the elements which contributes to the bonus is the customer satisfaction. And we focus on
Mm.
the idea of rational satisfaction and emotional satisfaction. So these are important. If anybody, as I said, has to negotiate to reach an agreement, uh, the idea that we can give more emotional satisfaction to the other party, this is obviously beneficial to them, because people walk away feeling, okay, I feel good about that. I've got a good deal.
Okay, yeah. Next question we had was like, why should HR and L&D teams care about negotiation skill?
Um, you know, uh, I would ask anybody, well, why do people negotiate in the first place? Why do people need to negotiate? Mm, We need to negotiate because we're unable to achieve our objectives by ourselves. So we need to interact with another person or another party or other parties, because otherwise, we don't need to negotiate. So that's the first thing. We can only achieve our objectives by negotiating. The second thing I would, ask them is, well, what does it mean to negotiate? And when I think about what negotiating is, I always refer back to the Fisher and Urey definition from their, Getting to Yes book in 1981. And for them, negotiating is a basic means of getting what you want from others. It's back and forth communication designed to reach an agreement when both parties have opposing interests. So, if you consider negotiation from this very general definition, this at no point does it mention commercial transactions.
Hmm.
If you have a situation where you have opposing interests, where you need to reach an agreement. And the only way to do this is to share information, to exchange information. But, their definition, it starts off by saying, you're trying to reach the basic means of getting what you want. So the focus is personal as well. So this is
Hmm.
why negotiation skills, again, it's not something which is limited to commercial transactions. I think the skills are applicable to pretty much everybody who works in a company.
Yeah, it's something that everyone uses. And how easy it is to integrate this program into a strategy, like a
Yeah.
negotiation development skills strategy, or just negotiation
Well,
skills
I,
development.
I think the program is relatively easy to implement for a few reasons. First of all, the format, it could be a half day, a 1 day, a 2 day, a 3 day program. It could be online, on site. We go to the company, or we could
Mm.
go to a third venue somewhere. We could go to, as we did in November, we went to Chateau Forum in Parc Monceau in Paris. So, they have the options, and also we can discuss with the company the content that they would like to have around the actual simulation, because
Hmm.
it's negotiation in action. It's just not a RevManex simulation. It's also the content that we can agree upon before. to say, look, this is important. Maybe we want to focus more on, the impact of emotional intelligence in the negotiation. And maybe we want to do really and try to, harness or improve our listening skills, or even get back to the basics and understand, the ZOPA, BATNA, whatever that may be. So it's flexible, it's adaptable, and our partners help co-construct the content.
Hmm. And maybe the last question before we ask the participant to directly ask the questions. Like, what would you say to organizations that are teams, or maybe also the participants that are hesitating to invest in negotiation trainings? Not only this one, but in negotiation in general.
Well, I think that, in terms of a return of your investment, I think you could consider it's going to be beneficial to the people who participate in the training, to the company, and to your customers and clients. Now, I think the individuals who participate in the program, first of all, they're going to get the opportunity to practice, to improve the negotiation skills. People always, I think, appreciate when the company invests resources in them, so the company says, okay, we want to improve your skills. So it's beneficial for the individual. They improve their skills and they feel good about it. It's beneficial for the company because they have more productive, more effective negotiators. And it's also, I think, beneficial to the company's customers or clients, because the objective is and should be to create additional value for the parent company, but also for their customers and clients. So really, everybody benefits from this program.
Yeah, because that's true. We see lots of, even in sales roles, we see the evolution because value creation is really important. And in organization, we have like this customer success managers that are more and more developed in companies. So that's also part of it. Like, yeah, like the evolution of the negotiation skills is not only just to have a big contract or things like that. It's more complete and focus also on value creation, right?
Yeah, I think negotiation is not just a professional skill, it's a personal skill. And I often say it's a life skill, because we negotiate so many times over small things, more important things. Sometimes it could be transactional, or sometimes it could be, we need to actually create more value because I would like to continue to do work with this person or this company in the future. So I'm not focusing on a purely distributed negotiation. I want to see if we can actually collaborate, work together to create value now, but also going forward.
Mm-hmm. Great. So we're done with those questions. Now we can ask the participant to ask their own questions. We'll just share a form with you guys in the chat if you want to have more insight on the webinar itself. So we can discuss it. Let me just share again the screen because now we're back to the Q&A. Let me just share. The idea now is just for you, if you have some questions, don't hesitate to share them with us. And we'll share also a form if you want to have more information about the seminar, if you want to discuss also negotiation, what we can do, if you want to see the simulation itself, you can fulfill this form that April will put in the chat. And let's see if you have some questions. So,
looks like we have a couple questions already. So if anyone else has any questions, please feel free. So we'll go ahead and answer these questions. So we have a question from Chris, who is asking, is this a simulation for students? How can a coach or a teacher manage, coach and intervene, come up with tips and tricks? So that's something interesting. This simulation is for both professionals and for students. And I don't know if maybe Aidan, you have any insights on how maybe a teacher could coach, manage, or come up with tips and tricks. Just one thing we can say, there's already a lot of insights embedded in the simulation. It comes with a participant handbook, debriefing, and so forth. So there's already a lot of things that are built in. But maybe, coming from maybe a facilitator standpoint, Aidan, I don't know if you have any additional insights you could add to that.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Chris. I think what's really important when running the Redmond X with students is that you give them sufficient time to actually practice. There are practice sessions and they can do the practice sessions as many times as they like. I think that's really important. Another tip that I find that it's useful, one of the things we can do with Redmanex is, there are 6 negotiations, but you as a facilitator can control the advancement from one negotiation to the next. Because I really like to keep all of the students on the same negotiation, because otherwise what I find is some of them will go a lot faster than others, and then we're trying to debrief, and you have some students on, they've done 3 negotiations, some students are struggling with the first one. So that's something that is always good as well, to keep them on the same negotiation. And as I mentioned earlier, the questions, they have to call Mark after each negotiation. And I try to stress to the students that it's really important. These questions that are asked, they're not just, to give you a score out of 10. They're asked to get you to reflect on the negotiation that you've just done in terms of your preparation, in terms of your perception of the person you negotiated with. So these are some of the things that help facilitate the negotiation. And also, when you display the screen, maybe after, we have a kind of a dashboard, we can show the results so you can see clearly who is performing well, who is actually has reached agreements. But, the simulator has lots of little tools we can use to help share the information, and also encourage the students to improve, to consider, okay, you got a really good gross contribution, but if you look at your customer satisfaction, it's really below what your objectives were. Have I answered your question or given you maybe some tips, Chris? Okay.
Thanks,
Great.
Aidan.
Thanks. Yeah. Great
Oh,
answer.
jeez.
Uh, so yeah, we have another question from Chris, actually. I think Chris is looking to understand the scope of the simulation. So to better understand, like going beyond coming to an agreement with mutual benefits and value gives and gets, is there financial, logistics, marketing, or other parts included to influence your starting position?
Well, what you're given is you have clear objectives in terms of what you need to achieve. The bonus that, the objective is to sign contracts and obtain the bonus. And the bonus is 50% of the bonus is based on your gross contribution, which is basically the money you generate from the contract. Then you've got 30% is from your market share, and you're given clear indications in terms of your volume of production and how many units you should sell to this particular client. And then the last 20% is your customer satisfaction, that to make sure that you achieved an agreement, but also gave a certain amount of customer satisfaction, or the customer actually appreciated the interaction with you. So that's, the objectives. You're given clear objectives, and you have the opportunity then to compare what the results, the negotiation you reached last year. So you can use that as a kind of a benchmark in terms of trying to analyze where you should be this year.
Right, great. Sounds good. Thank you, Aidan, for that. Chris, let us know if that answered your question. Okay. Okay, great. So I see, I guess most likely a demo or preview. Yes, of course. So Chris, we're more than happy to show you a demo. We'll be in touch with you after this webinar so you can really get a better hands-on, idea of what the simulation looks like. So great. Okay, great. And so we have another question. So what are the typical costs to adapt the seminar design and the simulation to a company? What is in the approximate budget for each one-day simulation seminar following this adaptation?
So this would be, I guess, a question for me. The typical, I mean, we don't really have typical cost for this adaptation because it depends on what exactly do you want to adapt. Is it like the scenario of the simulation? Is it just like the design of the seminar itself? So I would say like the first thing would be really to understand what is the purpose of your seminar, like how many people do you want, because it's not the same even if it's in person or if it's online, if you have like 20 participants or 500. So it really depending on lots of elements. But yeah, usually I don't know, it depends a lot on many things, on many things. I would say the price range would be for 1 day seminar for like pretty much 25%. It would be like 8,000 to 10,000 for 1 or 2 days. It depends again on how many profile, how deep do you want to go in the sales skill? Like for example, do you want to use this more like I don't know, a team building, or is it that you want to go very deep in the skills and the competencies, so you need more time or more element? It's we usually say that StratX there's enough how much no how is it? It's like we have this much seminars that we have partners and clients. I mean, every seminar is different. I hope this helps.
All right, great. I think we're actually getting really close to time here. So if
Yeah.
there are any other questions, please let us know. We're more than happy to answer questions after the webinar. You can just shoot us an email. In any case, we will be sending out the recording of this webinar to everybody. And of course, we're more than happy to answer any additional questions because, of course, we didn't really get into the simulation during this. We really wanted to really hear the feedback from Aidan and his expert kind of advice on facilitating these negotiation and action programs. I don't know if Juliet, you have anything else to say, or maybe Aidan?
For me, that's fine. I hope it helps and it answers the reason why you took some of your time to join us.
Yeah.
If I could just add something, I mean, the negotiation in action kind of concept whereby you spend a day or 2 days focusing on negotiation to review perhaps some of the basics and then put into practice. I also have some other activities that help, consolidate the fundamentals before we move on to the Revmanic. So it's a really, it's a learning experience. It's also quite an enjoyable experience because, as I said, there is this competitive element to it. And if you've got 10 or 15 people from the same company and you get them to compete against each other, it brings out the best in people, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great insight, Aidan. Thank you for sharing. All right, great. Well,
Thank
I
you so
guess
much, people.
yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. And again, if you have any questions, we're here, more than happy to assist you in that. And yeah, like I said, we'll be sending you the recording and have a great day. Thank you so much, Aidan, for taking the
You're
time
welcome.
to share your insights with us today. It's been very insightful.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.